I would like to introduce you to Mr. Martín Escobar. He is owner of Del Brazil Jiu-Jitsu and a retired police officer who worked on Team 2 with my dad. Team 1. Team 1. My dad would often come home telling us funny, weird, sad, and often unbelievable stories about his workday. One of his favorite stories was La Angel Negra. He said that you told it the best. Can you tell me the story?
So what happened is we had got sent to a call. It was not even. It was right after briefing, and my shift started at 9 o'clock. And so, like right after about 9:30, so maybe 9:45 or so in the evening, we got sent to a call and saying that these kids had come in and said something was going on inside their home. It was three kids. When we got there, it was two other officers with me. They got there. One had a training rookie with them training, and then the other one was a longtime friend of mine that we went to a lot of calls together. And so, anyways, we show up at the house, and the kids are outside, and they're scared. I mean, they're crying and everything, and we ask them, what's going on. It's, I don't know. My mom had us come outside and told us to come outside, and said, well, how come she told you guys outside? Well, and then that's when, there was, I think it was, one was a 13-year-old. I think the other one was a 10, probably a 7 or 8-year-old. So they were a little bit older kids. It's not like they didn't know what was going on. So I said, well, what happened? What made you guys have her, tell you guys to come outside? And she goes, well, this is what happened. And she starts explaining that there was some evil spirit, trying to get into the house and all that. So she asked them to say a prayer on her bed. And so they all held hands in a circle and holding hands, and they put a Bible in the middle. And this is the kids. Like I said, kids don't lie. And the kids starts telling me that the kids started explaining that the Bible then started spinning around and started elevating in the air. And then, while saying their prayers and stuff like that, then the Bible drops right in the middle. And then at that point, the mom, panics and tells the kids, get out, and pushes them out of the house. And each kid we spoke to them individually, and they pretty much all told the same story. So we're looking at each other like, what the hell's going on here? Like, what is going on? So we asked her, where's mom at? She goes, she's inside still. She said, we heard a whole kinds of banging and everything else, and we don't know what's going on. So I said, okay, but she's still in there. Yeah. So anyways, we go through the back where they usually go through, and go through the back door, which is a kitchen area. And then we try to open it, and it moves over. It's unlocked, but there's like stuff jammed up on it. We can't tell. So it was, in a funny sense, it was a funny thing with the rookie, because we let him say, okay, we're gonna have to kick the door in because I have to get in. And it's kind of funny at that point. So we let him try to kick it in. He couldn't do it. So we had the experienced officers come in and do it. And so I booted that door open. And what happened is that apparently the mom had stacked all the furniture against the doorways. Everything was stacked up. I mean, cabinets, fridge, everything was stacked up in all the doors like that. So then we go into the room, and we start like clearing the home. And we start going to the room, and we can't find the mom. And she's got to be in here somewhere, and we just can't find her. Well, as we're walking back out the room, I stepped on the rug, and there was like an area rug. And I said, no way. And it was rolled up. I mean, that thing was rolled up tight. I don't know how that happened, because that rug was rolled up so tightly. There's no way that she could have rolled herself up. There's no room. It's like in a bedroom, like probably about 14 by 16 rooms. So there's no way that she can roll it up that tight, but she was rolled up in there. So then all of a sudden, we say, hey, she's in here. And we start unrolling the rug, and sure as heck, she pops out and she's knocked out. But the weird thing about it, I've seen this in movies and stuff like that, but her eyes were rolled back, all the way back, white, completely white. And I'm trying to talk to her, and she doesn't come. So anyways, we do a little thing sort of to get people awake. It's a sternum rub, and you'll rub the chest area, and it causes a little bit of pain, and they usually come out of it. And yeah, she came out of it, and her eyes rolled back forward, and she's looking at me, and then she goes, "Ay, ay," and she's speaking Spanish. She goes, "Ay, ay," and el ángel negro said, "Cálmese, señora, cálmese," which means, calm down, calm down. And so as that's going on, she gets up, she sits up, and I'm telling her, calm down, cálmese, cálmese. And she goes, "Ay, el ángel negro me quiere agarrar." And I said, and I'm asking, she's saying the black angel's trying to get her. And I'm saying, "¿A cuál ángel negro? ¿A cuál ángel negro?" Which black angel? And she says, "El que está atrás de ti." I said, "The one behind you." I said, "Whoa." So I look back and there's nothing there. Well, then what happens? What happens is she gets up and she's trying to move all over the place. So I pin her against the wall. So we start meds en route, to basically assess what's going on with her. And I get her into a corner of the room, and she's, trying to get away. And I held her, and I pinned her against the wall. And I said, "Cálmese, señora, calm down." And "Ay, el ángel negro me quiere agarrar." She's looking behind me. And I said, "Ahí está atrás de ti." And I said, "Behind you." And I said, "No, cálmese, señora." I'm looking behind it. There's 2 other cops there. They're not seeing anything. But the weirdest thing about this whole thing is that, like the bedroom is about the size of this room area. And that's probably about 16 feet across here. And I had her in the corner pinned with my both hands. And I had her pinned because, like I said, she's trying to get away, and I pat her and I'm telling her to calm down. And then all of a sudden, I just can't explain, but all of a sudden what happens is all of a sudden, like something just ripped her out of my arms and she just flew across the room, like all the way across the room. So there was no running, no nothing. It's just like something took her out of my arms and just took her out and boom, right across the room and slams her against the other side. And she knocked her out, and then she, we try to get her, meds are already en route, and they get her, and finally she comes to, they put salts in her nose and get her up, and she's still claiming that the black angel's the ángel negro's trying to get her. So and we look at each other at that point with meds, and then we're like, I said, "What the hell is going on here?" And I said, "Did you see this? I had her pinned." I said, yeah. And then they're just in shock. The other 2 officers, what's going on. So then, as we're walking toward the hallway, the other officer, and Anthony's his name, my good friend, he goes, "I don't know, did you notice the TV?" I said, "Well," it was on the ground. It was, "Yeah, but you notice it was on?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, yeah, but the thing was disconnected." And like, whoa. So the thing is that this story got around to the other officers in the team. And like I said, we work midnight, so we only socialize pretty much with people we work at nights. But then we start finding out from other officers that there had been incidents there going on, that they had responded calls where people, like drunkards and people just walking through the front of the house and late at night, and they're getting pelted with rocks. They were just throwing rocks at them, and they look over, there's nobody there, all the lights are off. But they just said and there was several calls that people was like, "Yeah, there's like a bunch of calls waiting." So anyways, it's like that house was right off of Ajo and 6th area, and anytime I would go around there, it's like I'd make a big old white turn around there because I avoid that, So anyways, that's I got several of them. There's another one that's just as scary as that one. But that one's probably the one where I actually had physical experience with that, like trying to hold someone down, and it just got taken up from my arms and flew across the room. It's like, yeah, that was the strangest thing. Yeah. So anyways, that's the story of Ángel Negro. The other one, you want to hear the other one? So the other one that happened on Calle Margarita, and that was a 200 block or so. And I was a rookie cop. And when I came on that one was, supposedly there was this guy all dressed, like Van Helsing, the character Van Helsing, all dressed in a black coat, long like that with a black hat. But what this guy would do is he'd pop up in the middle of the day, in the mornings or whatever, and he jumped the fence, like 6 foot fence, and he just like whoop, jumped over it, and then he jumped and right into the roof, and so people would see that figure, and anytime that somebody would address him, he'd run, jump off the roof, jump over the fence, and then run in the alley and disappear. So I had several calls with that, and that I always took somebody with me, because what happened with that one is that though we even had the division, they even set up an officer inside the house to see if we could catch this guy when he would show up. And of course, they put somebody inside. Then that guy didn't show up at all. But there were several incidents with that as far as that's concerned. And one of them that happened on one call with mine that I get dispatched the call, and I'm not going to give the address, but like I said, it's we went there and the call came out that this suspicious person, whatever. So we get there to the house, in front of the house, and that was, like I said, in the evening too, after briefing, late at night, and we get there. So what happens is we start talking to the girls and getting their statements, and one had just moved in that afternoon, and they were going to I think Desert View, I think it's Desert View or Sunnyside, and one of them, I guess, had recognized that the other girl that from the school. So they were just basically introducing to each other. And I said, yeah, I just moved in here this afternoon. We're just moving all our stuff. And so they were talking in front of the house in question that always happened there in that house. And then all of a sudden they said that they were just talking amongst them. And then there's this guy towards the west house, and this guy's like this, and he goes, hello, girls. And boom, one of them recognized that figure because she has seen it in her house. And they take off running. They yell and they take off running. And as they're running down the street, this other girl doesn't know nothing about this character at all. So she just ran because she told her to run. And they look back and boom, that figure's gone. And I said, okay. So I said, so you don't know anything? And so the girl that just moved, you don't know anything about it or anything like that? No, we just moved across. And she explained, we were just talking about school. And then all of a sudden we look back after the guy, says, hello, girls. And we look over and apparently, the other girl knew who she was, and they ran. I said, so which house? Show us which house it was. And I said, how did he get out? Did he jump over the fence? No, he blew the gates open. And it was like wrought iron fences, a gate actually. And then, so we go over there and look next to house, and it says vacant. And I said, which gate did it go through? And he says, this one right here. He just blasted it open. And we look at it and it's padlocked with a chain. But it's like they saw it wide open when the guy blasted through. So as we're talking to as we're talking to them about that, and like I said, the other girl knew what was going on, so we just wanted to figure out the story. So then what happened, there was another rookie officer that showed up because he had heard about incidents. He wanted to find out, what the story about it. So as we're talking to him about what had happened and telling him about other incidents, there's a guy 3 houses down east of us. All of a sudden, he's like, hey, he says, come over here. He said, this guy ran through my yard. I said, what do you mean he just ran? He just ran. I said, what do you look like? What was he wearing? He's wearing a black trench coat. Like I couldn't tell. He's all dressed in black. And I said, which way did he go through? He said, right here. He left all my gates open. So we look and the gate is open. His back that leading to the alleyway was what open. And the thing is that the dogs never barked. That was the other thing with this guy. The dogs knew him. They never barked. As soon as we hit the backyard, the dogs started barking. And I said, are you sure he went out? Yeah. I said, everything was wide open. So that's when happened. That's when one of the incidents happened personally. The other thing is that, and I should have made records or printed the calls from that, because there was another incident where that somebody passed away at that house in question, and people were showing up at 3:00. And I remember reading the call history, and people are showing up to this house for a wake. And all of a sudden, this guy jumps over the fence to the backyard, and then he's on top, jumps on the roof, and they're telling him, get down. And there's all kinds of people that saw him. And they started throwing rocks at him and everything else. And then boom, 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 he jumps off the roof, jumps over the fence, and he takes off running. So that was that call. It went on for about 2 years as far as calls. I got another early morning call right down west of there too. And like I said, this is right before my shift ended, and this guy was just sitting on the wall with his foot up and just, kicking back and everything else. And I got a describe. When I got there, he was gone. But I asked a description. So I don't know. You couldn't see his face. You couldn't see his face. He had a black hat with a black trench coat. I said, "Oh my gosh!" I said, "It's the same guy." So, anyways, there was other incidents. I wish I would have wrote them down and so forth, but those are the ones that I personal experience with as far as hearing the calls come out. And I think that guy might have moved down into the neighborhood, because that's another thing that happened. There was that happened in Real. This guy that lived right north of there, and I get a call there that this dark figure just keeps staring at him. He says you could see red eyes and everything. He said, but he wasn't resting around my car. I said, what do you mean? I said, well, I don't know. He just kept looking around it, and I go over there and I said, and what happened? Did you take off? Yeah, he took off to the desert, but then he just just sitting there crouched, and I could see his eyes were red. He said he just kept looking, and so then I go look at the car, inspect to see if they had to try to break in or something, and there was 3 scratches along. They're like nails. I was like, okay. I said, this is creepy, man. Yeah. So, anyways, those are my stories, my little spooky stories of stuff that happened when I was on patrol. And here's a funny thing. I'll say this as far as that. The only reason I'm a big old, I think you say, big old chicken shit. The only thing that kept me up above water was the fact that I was wearing a blue uniform, a cop's uniform. If not, I probably would have been running home. So, yep, that's it, Luis. Those are my stories, man. You can't believe it? Oh my gosh, yeah.
I've just only heard the story from my dad, but not that detailed. I was like, oh man.
Like I said, I have it. It's ingrained in my mind. There was one more story that I remember happened that right there. So what happened? There was a stolen vehicle, and kids bailed from the car, and so they set up quads in the area, basically to set up a perimeter around there. Well, there was one guy that set up. He didn't know where he was at. He just set up behind in an alley, and he was just looking there, and he's just looking. His lights are all on, and everything else is on it. And as he's watching that thing, he's like, see if anybody's gonna pop up. One of those kids. All of a sudden, he's like, just back rearview mirror. He goes, boom, and looks back there, and nothing there. And he's like, what the hell, And then the thing flies by here again. It's like, what the hell? And then the third time this thing, and he finally gets out to inspect what the hell's going on. And then he tells me the story because he knew how much I knew about that house. And then what happened, he finally gets out, and then he says, I didn't realize where I was at, but where I was parked at in the alley, I was behind that house that everything happened at. Yeah.
So back to the La Negro story. So is the house still standing?
Yeah, it's still standing.
Oh wow.
It's still standing. I've gone there a couple of times during the day. During the day. But yeah, it's still there.
So what happened to the old lady?
She wasn't even an old lady. I mean, she was
really?
the lady that happened. She was pretty young. She must have been in her late 30s or so forth, and she got admitted to the hospital. It's kind of strange, how we look at that kind of paranormal activity in a different way instead of maybe possibly investigating the way of that way. It's more like a mental case issue than anything else. So I don't know what happened after that. But supposedly the family moved out shortly after that from the house.
I would too.
Yeah.
Did you get an adrenaline rush after that, or when it was happening?
I don't think I got an adrenaline rush. I think I was just more freaked out, or just just to see it happen to you. Just because that part. And every time I tell that story, it's I can't explain it because I was, like I said, the part about holding on to the lady, because I had her there, hard, because like I said, I had her, and I'm a big guy, and I'm holding her there. There's no way she's going to get away from me, but yet something ripped her out of my arms and just flung her across the room.
So thank you, Martín, not only for the story, but for your service for the community. Thank you for watching over my dad when he was a rookie.
Oh, it was a pleasure. I love you, Dad.